18 minutes past 9, you're watching OTB AM. It's absolute mayhem behind the scenes here, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks for all the comments that have come in this morning. We'll get into those over the next while. We have a prize on offer as well for them, as you can see in front of your screens there. And delighted to say that the people behind this absolutely beautiful production are joined us this morning. Stuey Byrne and I think Seana Cooke on Zoom. Morning to you both.
Morning, Nathan. How are you?
How's it going, Seana? You got snowed in, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, the perks of living in the countryside on a farm lane.
Outside the pale or inside the pale, Seana?
Outside the pale, unfortunately.
Wow. Right. No, nothing wrong with that.
You're in good company here this morning, Seana. Let's face it. We've been talking about the book all morning. We've a competition running for the best comment of the morning that's going to win themselves a copy of the book as well. Shane is going to be the arbiter of that. I'm not sure how he's going to exactly decide.
Stuey will sign it when he's in with us as well here.
It's a beautiful production. It's a colouring book with a difference. Stuey, do you want to talk to us about how this came about, what it is?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll actually hand over to Seana because it's Shauna's baby, to be quite honest. I'm here representing my daughter who did the illustrations.
Beautiful illustration. Seana, floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Stuey. So myself and Stuey obviously met last year to have a chat about kind of combining for a game we love, and there was a few conversations back and forth. We've always, I suppose, connected on the ground of like football being this place where, you know, facilitates connections and support, and there's so much goes on around the game that's often not told or goes untold, and we wanted to really try to put something together that would help give a platform to the amazing stories around the game. And it was, I suppose, around the time of the women's team doing so well, and it was something I'd been kind of toying with in my head for a long time. And I just said to Stuey, I said, like, it'd be great to maybe put a colouring book together, maybe something that, you know, is obviously aimed at young boys and girls, but also could be picked up by a teenager or somebody older, and, you know, they can kind of connect with the game. I felt like there's been such an evolution of the game over the past 2 or 3 years in terms of like media attention and public attention. You know, and one of the things that stuck out with me was I went to a game with Olivia O'Toole last year, and we turned up at the gate, and nobody had an idea who she was. And I was thinking to myself, if that was Paul McGrath or, you know, somebody of that calibre in terms of a male, they would have known straight away. So for me, it was just about articulating that kind of connection between the past, the you know, what's going on now, and also trying to inspire the future generations. And it's great to have somebody like Stuey to work with, because everything I say, he tends to say yes to. And we just started to kind of bang our heads together. And obviously, Sky is an incredible illustrator, and I mean, myself and Stuey just kind of put the copy together. It was all Sky in terms of the illustrations. The book is beautiful because of her.
Compromise, Adrian.
Is that
Good
what it's
relationships are all based on compromise. Yeah.
So what was the point of contention here? Was it like, because like looking through the book, there's obviously a lot of the big games are in there. The Sweden games, Scotland games represented. A lot of games going back. Was there a bit of butting heads at some point?
No. I mean, I had an idea for the edible football boot. Seana had an idea for a colouring book. Seana won. You know, it was.
Is that what happened?
No, I think when she suggested it, it kind of struck a chord immediately, because you know, part of, you know, Seana mentioned there the platform game we love. It's very much, we kind of wanted to be a platform, you know, a kind of a voice for the great people in the game, the great stories. You know, I don't think we hear enough of those things. You know, we're a little bit bombarded by celebrity at the moment, like, you know, which is fine for some people, but I've pretty much had enough of it, and so has Seana, you know. And the colouring book, it's kind of it's a beautiful piece because for so many different reasons. Like, I mean, you know, when I look at my kids just even colouring it in, I could watch them for hours doing it. I mean, they could sit for hours doing it, and it really, what it does is it makes you kind of just stop and think and interact and take your time and just consume, you know, without, it's kind of the opposite to what I suppose we're being sort of, what's been thrown in our face at the moment, which is kind of constant, relentless information, if you know what I mean. So what we're trying to do is trying to re-engage maybe with the core values of the game, really, and just to kind of take your time, you know, take 20 minutes, take 30 minutes, read something, watch something, and try and consume it in that way. And when Seana said, mentioned the colouring book, and it's been a process for both of us. We've had to kind of go through the whole logistics of where do we start, how do we get it up and running, where do we go, and we both just had to learn on the job. But it's been a great experience, and it's a fabulous piece, I have to say. It's turned out really well. I'm very proud because my daughter did the illustrations.
I was going to say how close to life they look. Like Emma Byrne there, for example, looks
absolutely
like it's
class.
a photograph.
So it's a technique kind of whereby, see, my daughter's actually in my own place at the moment doing work experience, and it's based on a photograph, but they put their own stint on it, if you know what I mean. And if you look at the images in detail, you'll see, and hopefully people will get the book. You'll see the detail in the eyes and around the mouth and the shadowing and all that kind of thing. So it's sort of it's an illustration, and it's open to interpretation for the person who's colouring it in, I suppose, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I don't think, looking at it, and I don't think you could have done any better to illustrate it. So it was a handy coincidence that it was close to home.
Yeah.
Just, you mentioned there about like having enough of celebrity, and you can both jump in this one. Just in what can you tease that out a bit? Is it a sporting sense, a general sense?
Well, why do you need Kim Kardashian when you have Katie McCabe? You know.
Shauna, do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, I can jump in there. I think for a lot of young people nowadays, there's such a pressure to, be on all these different social platforms and, just be putting like training sessions up on Instagram, and you have to be on TikTok, and now there's Be Real and Facebook. And there's so much of life consumed by that now. And I think, it's so easy to fall into the habit of being, influenced by, here's what I eat in a day, or here's all the, 20 million things I do in a day. And for young people, I think to come away from that and kind of maybe they can often feel the pressure and, negative emotions. And what we wanted to do was create something in Game We Love that I suppose could just kind of allow people to take a step back, and not feel that pressure in terms of read stories and resonate with stories that, aren't about, the top 10 tips to become, the next Ronaldo, or, here's a video of someone doing 5 million keep uppies. It's just more about giving people something that they can connect with and feel positive about. And that's where the colouring book comes in as well. Like as Stewie was saying there about watching his kids. My niece was up with me at the weekend, and she's no interest in football whatsoever. As much as I've tried, she's no interest. And the colouring book was on the kitchen table, and I noticed she opened it and just started to colour in, and we started to have a conversation, not just about the people in the book, but also there's quotes in there. And as a 9-year-old, I started to ask her about the quotes and what they meant to her. And the conversation went on for about an hour, but it was an hour of no TikTok, of no television, of just the two of us connecting. And that's what we want. We want it to be a piece that will bring people together, but also maybe, it's a way for young people who maybe, naturally aren't interested in participating in sports per se, but they can connect with the game in other ways. So that's kind of my angle on it. I don't know about you, Stewie.
That's a very good point, actually, because football can be a very intimidating sport. I mean, I remember even growing up myself, as a young boy and schoolboy, it can be a very highly competitive thing, and it can be anxious and all the things that come with that. And to Shauna's point there, there's so much more going on around the game than just having to be a player and having to make it to the top level. That's the less than 1%. It's the game brings so much in terms of positivity to people's lives in ways that you can't even sort of fathom. And the kind of point of all is that we want to learn what it does, what the game brings to people. It's not anti-celebrity, but it's. I think I want to hear stories about people who have experienced sort of life-changing things, person in the corner or a person in your job, and there are, we've tapped into that, and there are going to be stories coming down the stream that, and some fantastic stories as well. And the game has given so much back to people. It's given a lot to me, and that's part of what this is about. This is me trying to give back in a way that I feel I can I can contribute to in a way that I'm probably passionate about as well. I mean, I constantly get asked if, about going into coaching and management. It wasn't for me, and so I've been trying to figure it out in my own head. How can I give back in a way that I feel I can kind of feel positive about, and this is the start of it.
I love that connection piece, I must say, that Seana spoke about there. And I have a 4-year-old at home and I have a 6-year-old, and this will definitely, we'll be sitting down and we'll be going through it and we'll be talking about the stories and we'll be doing bits of colouring. It's absolutely in the wheelhouse of everything. I think that's and the opportunity to speak as well, Sean, is a thing that, like, I don't know how to introduce the conversations to either of them about here's how this team got to this place. Like, I could sit down and bore you with a lot of detail about that, but you're going to shut down pretty quickly, whereas this is a really brilliant door into that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially for young females, obviously, there's a lot of challenges, for females in life, and it's about having those conversations as well with young girls. I was having one with my niece at the weekend. She was asking me like little things like, how come they didn't get the kit supplied, and why don't they not see them on television as much as the boys? So it's about having those conversations and being real about it, and giving them the landscape as it is now, and talking about where we wanted to go and why we need both young boys and girls to have the inspiration and the belief that they can change the game. There's been women in the background, like I'm thinking of players like Emma Burns you see in the book, and Olivia O'Toole, but there's also people like Claire Scanlon, Ciara Grant, Yvonne Tracy, who we just ran out of pages for, maybe in part 2.
Exactly.
I think about that. We're doing a lot of hard work when nobody was watching. So, I really want to dedicate it to them, and all the women that have put in the long hours and the passion and the pain to bring football to where it is today.
It's mad, because we had Nora Stapleton and Benny Callan from Sport Ireland on the show on Wednesday, on International Women's Day, and we were talking about that, and you mentioned the word competitiveness, Stewie, and how that can put young girls and young boys off sport generally. But something like this is a great in for them. As you say, Seana, your niece, no interest in football whatsoever, but it can take something small like this to get them interested and realise that it doesn't have to all be competitive. It can be enjoyable as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so important. There's so much opportunity within the game, outside of participation, and there's an awful lot of opportunity for young kids, especially to bring their creativity to the game. That's what we want to harness. It's that ability to connect and interact with the game, and not feel that competitiveness and pressure to perform or play. I think the more we can bring that into the game, the better it'll be.
And there's art in here for adults as well. I've noticed that the modern trend towards a bit of Zen time, a bit of me time.
Yeah, that's for you, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So, hard days work. Just go home and colour that in.
I need this. I need more of this. It's $7.99, and where should people go and pick it up?
It's available online. I'm sure we can give you the link to share it out.
We'll stick it out in our Twitter account. It's probably the best way to do it. It's a brilliant production. I genuinely am really excited to get it home and sit down with the kids and go through it, genuinely. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Before we let you go, Rovers hoovering up every good player in the league. Seana, is that's the only WNL preview we need, is it?
I was going to pretend I was gone.
Sorry, the snow is just the line's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, it's going to make for one hell of a competitive league, and that's what we want. There's been a lot of attention, I think, and interest in what has happened our season. So I hope that it'll bring a bit of balance. Other teams have still kept really good cores, and I'm really hoping to see more competitive games over the course of the season.
Yeah. And I see there's a lot of interest with Sarah Rowe as well across the papers today, with Bowes, so lots of interesting talking points around that, as there will be at Talca Park tonight. Couldn't have had you in on a better day, Stewie.
Yeah, I think there's I think Rovers are under pressure to get a win, aren't they, really? I mean, it's going to be that's a difficult game for them, like going to Talca. Shell's playing well, to be fair. Results not necessarily going their way, but just being pipped by a goal here and there. So they're in a good place, Shell's playing wise, and big pressure on Rovers. But It's early, Adrian. I think we need to remember as well. Derry got off to a flyer last year. I think they were at this stage 6 points clear. I think they're 7 points clear now.
Yeah.
And it all sort of, May tends to be a very significant month in this season, in any League of Ireland season, because it's sort of pre-Europe. It can have an effect on the mindset, and it things tend to happen in that month. So. But I do feel it's going to be a competitive league. I don't normally say that, and it would be a criticism I've had of the league in the last 5-6 years, or maybe more, because not to talk down the likes of Dundalk, Cork, Rovers. They're all doing their stuff. I think we need everybody else to start catching up, and I think that's starting to happen.
Duffer thrives in these scenarios, doesn't he? Rovers coming to Talca on a Friday night.
Yeah, he does. Look, he's to be fair to him, I think he's doing a wonderful job, not just with the team he has and the resources he has, but I think he's playing his part. He's doing, I think, what we wanted him to do. We kind of wanted to get a personality into the, and to be quite honest, he's surprised me as well in how he's got a sometimes he's got that air of you don't know what he's kind of gonna say, and I like that. I think we lack that sort of sometimes in the game here, and it's always good to have those personalities.
Yeah, we'd settle for the three-way tie that it was going into the last day of the season last year in the WNL. We would settle for a title race like that in either of them over the course of the season. Thanks a million to you both. Best of luck with the book. We are going to put the link up on our Twitter page, and thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers, Seana. Thanks. It's